putting forward quite a veterans team. And Andrew Butchart, fourth in last year's race. Now,
remember how he ran last year, Phil, when he ran really aggressively from the start? I wonder if we'll see that again.
There's Ali Kaya and Polat Kemboy Arakan. Two former European champions.
So Turkey have three former European champions as well, those two and one other. And then Özbilen, who's a 2.6 marathon runner.
Yes. Well, and they've put Özbilen at the front of the echelon. Özbilen finished 10th in last year's race. And there we just see alongside the Turkish team, Henrik Ingebrigtsen. Well, he saw his brother win the under-20 race a little bit earlier. He's a European under-23 champion. Well, the starter got them quickly underway there. So 79 runners from 26 countries here. Well, very, very quick tempo, opening tempo. That's Varga from Slovakia, getting his way to the front, trampling his way over the opposition. Hasan Chadi. Well, Chadi has a rare distinction of being a man who's actually won medals at all three age categories at the Spar European Cross Country Championships.
And Varga, by the way, in second place there is an interesting competitor. He's a four-time aquathlon champion. He's a very good swimmer and was 11th in the Olympic triathlon in Rio.
They will run 2 short laps and 6 long laps, ladies and gentlemen. 10 metrov najskôr takzvané krátke.
So it's Hasan Chadi really darting to the front there, making a big effort at this early stage in the race. And Chadi's certainly someone you have to take very seriously. His credentials are extremely good. Solomon at the moment back in 5th place in the yellow vest of Sweden. So it's Chadi and Varga in front at the moment after about 600 meters. And then a little way back to Özbilen of Turkey.
Incidentally, Varga's brother is one of the volunteers here and was very kindly gave us a lift when we arrived in very dark and wet and cloudy conditions on the first night. We couldn't find our way around. There's always somebody in the organising committees that you go to solve a problem, and his brother is one of them here.
Well, the field already strung out less than a kilometre into this race. There's Andrew Butchart showing at the front, Ben Connor there, and just behind them, another of the British runners, Tetwan. Well, Chadi still pushing hard. I mean, it's been a few years since he got his silver medal as a senior in 2012, having previously won the European Under-23 title. Really making a return to form at the age of 28. After an illustrious junior career. Reigning French cross-country champion from earlier in the year. And there's Mechal, moved to the front now. Mechal, well, this sort of course should suit Mechal. He's had a good few races on the Spanish course and has been duelling with the dominant Kenyans in those races. Mechal, the European indoor 3,000 metre champion from Belgrade earlier this year.
The runners now entering first of the 6 long laps.
very early stages in the race, but it's clearly the British who are in the lead in the team contest.
Spain was promising to attack the podium, and he is fulfilling his promise.
Henrik Ingebrigtsen quite a long way back, the
Griffith
former under-23 cross-country champion, former European 1500 metre champion on the track, in title he won in 2012. Well, Chaddy's now come back to the pack. Dewey Griffith, fine run, sub 2:10 marathon in Frankfurt recently, second on the year's European list for the marathon. Oh, Griffith, I had no doubt about his endurance. I was wondering whether he still had some of the marathon in his legs. Butchart now swinging out to the right-hand side of the course, swinging out wide. Mechal tucked in behind Griffiths at the moment.
And what an autumn Dowie Griffiths is having, because he's broken, as you mentioned there, 2:10 in the marathon. He's made a big breakthrough. He's running 10,000 metres at the Commonwealth Games for Wales. And I'd forgotten actually that he is a good cross-country runner as well, because he ran in the championships last year when Britain won the team gold medal.
Now Aras Kaya, the defending champion, moving up. So there's about 15 men in that leading group, and then a very slight gap to the best of the rest, led by Henrik Ingebrigtsen, although that's not any significant gap, but it's Griffiths now charging away about 2 kilometres into this race. Senior men's distance, 10,180 metres. So we've had the 2 short laps, now we have 6 long laps of 1,500 metres, and that finishing straight to go. So it's Griffiths, Mechal. I think that's Aris Kaya up there, Osbilan as well, Andrew Butchart. And one of the Belgian team. I'm sure that's Bucici, European Athlete of the Month for November, after 2 very fine wins in Mol and Rousselard. As we look back down the field, well, Lamdasan at this stage, having been on the podium twice in his career at these championships, a little bit of a way back. No, it's still Griffiths. Well, his pace has really strung out this field. He's done a fine job cranking it up at the front. Aras Kaya. Oh, Kaya takes a tumble there, and he's trampled. Oh, that is a huge shock for the defending champion. I mean, it took a long time getting back up as well. He's lost so many places. Well, I don't even see him in that group there. Yes, he's come back up. He's about 20th now. But he took a long time to get up. And it doesn't look as though it was anybody else's fault. He looks as though he just stumbled there. So it's Griffiths, Mechal, Butchart, Solomon, Chaddy, and Richard Ringer coming through. Richard Ringer, well, European Indoor 3,000 metres bronze medalist behind Mechal. Moving up well. Had a good run on the cross-country circuit at the European Athletics Permit meeting last month in Salzburg. Well, we've still got the mixed relay to go, but there's been plenty of excitement in this race already. So, Dewey Griffith. Oh, this is a fine run from Griffiths. Roughly 3 kilometres into this race, Mechal, European Indoor 3,000 metre champion, tracking him. Mechal recently 3rd at the Alcobendas European cross-country permit meeting. That's out in the suburbs of Madrid. Great Britain, well, packing well. I think they've got 3 men in the top 10 at this stage. Yes, Butchart and Connor.
Irish fans supporting their runners.
Richard Ringer now moving up to 4th. Solomon, the Swede, the Scandinavian cross-country champion, in 5th. So Griffith made a bit of a meal getting over that obstacle. Almost caught his trailing leg there. I don't know about his steeplechase background. Fine runner on the roads.
Griffith successfully debuted in marathon this fall.
So where we were seeing Andrew Butchart leading the race for Britain at this time last year, now it's the same country but a different athlete, although Butchart is in close order. But I was going to ask you, Phil, Michel doing the long race here, obviously that's a very prestigious title to win. Do you wonder why he did not opt to run the relay for Spain? Because he would be ideal for this sort of event.
Yes, I mean, I've been reading a little bit in the Spanish domestic media that he's looking to move up distance. I think he's moving up from 1,500 metres, predominantly outdoors, probably looking at challenging over 5,000 next year. So I think this is part of a concerted move to move up distance. Spain, probably one of the leading medal contenders in the mixed relay, have some very, very good runners indeed forming their mixed relay quartet later on in just an hour or so's time. But at the moment it's Dowie Griffiths leading the way for Britain, with Machal tracking him in the silver medal position. Andrew Butchart. Ben Connor also featuring very highly at the moment. Connor back in 4th place at the moment. The Swede Solomon in 5th. Richard Ringer of Germany in 6th.
And it has to be said, though, that the Yasmin Yan dominated the women's race. Her compatriots in the men's race don't look as if they're going to be heading for a similar result.
Well, none of them competed in the Balkan cross-country championships. I believe they're all away at training camp. Well, we do see Paula Arakan and Osbilan. They're in the top 10 at the moment, but they're not at the sharp end of the race. Aris Kaya, after that fall, has moved up a few places, and on his shoulder the former 2-time silver medalist Ayad Lamdasam from Spain, but they're back in the high teens at the moment. But it's still Dowie Griffiths. And my apologies to all Welsh speakers. I didn't think I was mispronouncing his first name for the first kilometre or so of the race. I was corrected appropriately by my colleague Mark. Adel Machal and Andrew Butchart making the top 3 at the moment, and the tall, lean figure of Ben Connor bringing up the rear of that quartet. So 3 Britons in the top 4 at the moment. Here's that fall again. Just watch what happens here. Well, seems to clip his heels on one of the Belgians, but I don't think it's anybody else's fault but Aris Kaya's. I don't think anybody ran up him. I'd love to see that again. I'm sure we will in the highlights at the end. But it leaves Aris Kaya with a lot of work to do. And now the leading quartet are starting to speed up. There's now a gap of about 6 or 7 metres between the leading quartet, followed by Solomon and Ringer, with Arakan having moved through in the last few metres or so to actually take 5th place at the moment. But there's certainly a noticeable change in speed and change in pace, and Griffiths has thrown the gauntlet down. I'm just looking back at Griffiths' stats in this particular competition. Well, he was 18th last year when he formed part of the Great Britain Northern Ireland team that actually took the team gold medals. 16th in the under-23s. Well, look at what's happened there.
That's Griffiths.
That's Griffiths. He's just lost his shoe.
No, I don't think so. He was feeling his hamstring there, Phil. Certainly, as you were talking about him, he was coming to grief.
But it's Andrew Butchart now leading the way for Britain. Adel Machal, Ben Connor. Well, we'll bring you Well, it looks as though Griffiths is back in the race in about 10th place, looking down the field.
Well, I remember when he was running so well in the Frankfurt Marathon, he slowed in the final stages with cramp. He was heading for about a time of 2:08, ended up with 2:09, and I wonder if it might be a similar.
Well, his last 7 kilometres in Frankfurt were pretty leaden, I think, were pretty uncomfortable. Well, 3 men looking well within their comfort zone at the moment, to the 3 at the front. Connor, who's just coming around on the inside, on the right-hand side of Andrew Butchart, Adel Machal. Well, this sort of course you would say would automatically favour Butchart and Machal, perhaps not so much Connor. All 3 of them, though, do look comfortable at this stage in the race, roughly halfway into the race. And about 5 kilometres, give or take a little bit.
And we can see already on the 3rd place, Poland Arikan Kemboy.
Well, there's the defending champion, Ares Kaya, back in about 15th place, roughly. Now Michel moving into the lead. Here's that. No, you're absolutely right. I thought it was his shoe that was torn off, but he definitely did go down and touch his hamstring. No, he's out of the race. He did come back into the race for a short while and then has called it quits, which is a great shame. And certainly he was running so well up until that point. But it's Adel Machal now, the reigning European indoor 3,000 metre champion, showing fine form on the cross-country circuit.
Another Turkish runner, Figen Carlos, Milan is there together with Poland Arikan Kemboy, pushing.
And all 3 runners working hard at this stage. They're trying to put some distance between themselves and the chasing trio as they come through to complete another lap very shortly. So they've got about 4,500 metres to go as Butchart now goes to the front again. 1, 2, 3 with Osbilan and Ali Kaya in the trio behind them.
And I think Ben Connor here is running the race of his life, far above anything else he's achieved. The 2 men ahead of him, one was 4th in the World Championships, one was 8th in the Olympics. He hasn't mixed with this company before.
No, and you wouldn't naturally assume that he was a runner happy in these conditions. Well, Arakan, since the split, has moved up. Bucici's up there as well, and Bucici's, as we said, been running very well in Belgium, but at the moment it's these 3 men, Butchart and Connor, and as Mark rightly say, Connor, the British Trials winner, without any significant track credentials, to be honest, having an outstanding run.
And now 25 to 32.
All 3 men at the front, working hard, but still looking very comfortable. But we've still got the best part of 4 kilometres to go, so a lot can change. And there's Chaddy. Chaddy has closed down the gap. Out of camera shot, Chaddy has got across the gap. And I also think that Bucici is starting to close now. Osbilan Arakan, the 2014 champion, starting to look a bit tired. And Kaya has come through by a very long way, and he's now in about 8th place. He's coming back, is Kaya.
And Turkey are leading in the team standings. So good packing by the Turks.
Yes, Griffiths' injury means that Britain has really taken a hit as far as the team competition is concerned, but see how things unfold. Chaddy, 2012 silver medalist, now back with the leaders. Just dropping his hands there. I'm just wondering whether he's just feeling a bit tight across the shoulders. Osbilan in 5th and Bucici in 6th. So it's Andrew Butchart, 4th last year, really doing well at the head of this pack and really leading the way. Well, didn't have the best of runs by his own standards in the British Trials last month in Liverpool.
He took a long break after the World Championships, and we next saw him at the Great Scottish Run in Glasgow at the beginning of October, where he really eased himself back into competition, I think. So the Trials was a step up from that, and this is another step forward, I think.
Well, this looks like a major step forward. I mean, when he's leading the way from a European Indoor 3,000 metres champion and a very good runner indeed, Adel Machal. Certainly. But then Butchart, I think we've known has been a quality athlete. I can remember last summer, 2 summers ago rather, seeing him over 5,000 metres at the Diamond League meeting in London. Really running a fantastic 5,000 metres there, where he set his personal best of 13:06. Chaddy and Connor, well, both fine cross-country runners, but they don't have the track credentials. Sorry, getting a bit cold here. Track credentials of the 2 men in front of them. Now Bucici looks as though he's closed the gap and he is managing to join the men in front, and so too Osbilan. Osbilan now making strides, getting up into 3rd place now, Osbilan.
And of the Turks, he was the one that perhaps wasn't expected to be.
Well, you're right.
He's the only one that hasn't won this title of their leading 4.
Well, that would be quite something, wouldn't it, if he did go on to the gold medal and it became 4 different Turkish runners in four successive years. So there's the top 6. In single file, Butchart, Osbilan, Connor, Chaddy, Bucici. Arakan in 7th. Aris Kaya, defending champion after that fall, has got himself up into 8th. The good German Richard Ringer in 9th at the moment. Henrik Ingebrigtsen in 12th, and Napoleon Solomon, after featuring during the first 2 or 3 kilometres, drifting back to 12th, the Scandinavian champion. Now Machal has kicked in here. Well, we've still got about 3 kilometres to go. Two long laps to go. Osbilan trying to cover the gap. Butchart now digging in.
So this is speed versus strength, Phil. We've got the man who was 4th in the World Championships, 1,500 metres leading, and a 2:06 marathon runner behind him.
Turkey leading now in the teams with 18 points ahead of Spain.
Well, Mechal, coached by Antonio Serrano, who got the bronze medal back at the very first European cross-country championships. Antonio Serrano, very fine runner indeed, former Spanish national marathon record holder. Machal now really starting to try and pull away, but that glance told him all the things he needs to know about who's tracking him, and it's the Turkish runner, Kaan Keegan Osbilan. Andrew Butchart in 3rd at the moment. Now a bit of a distance with Osbilan and Butchart following Machal, growing between the 3 men in the medal positions at this moment.
Before the European cross-country championships, that is his debut. Mechal, Osbilan, and Butchart.
Well, Machal was 3rd 2 years ago in Hier's. Very different type of course that, or very different conditions, certainly. And he won't have raced anywhere as cold as this in the last few months, that's for sure. And the Spaniards are moving up well, they're packing well. And the Spaniards will probably be in the medal positions as far as the team standings are concerned. So the Spaniards look as though they've got 3 men in the top 14 at the moment. Lambda Sam is in around 11th or 12th place. Connor just starting to drift back now. He's now in 4th place at the moment. Bucici, the Belgian, in 5th. And Chadi in 6th at the moment. But this is the man in 1st place, Adel Machal of Spain. Just a little way to go, and then they'll very soon hear the bell as they come round for the final big lap of 1,500 metres. So Kaan Keegan Özbilen in 2nd place at the moment for Turkey. Andrew Bouchard just starting to lose a little bit of ground on the 2 leaders, but the Briton is in 3rd at the moment. Well, with the retirement of Mo Farah, as far as track running is concerned, many people are looking at Bouchard to carry on its tradition on the track as Özbilen takes the lead. Ignore the graphic on your lower right-hand side. This is the bell, 1,500 metres to go. Bucici's just edged in front of Connor for 4th place. Well, there's a big gap now starting to open up between the 3 men in medals. In the medals at the moment, and the men behind them.
On the big screen, the situation while entering the last lap, Özbilen, Mechal, Bouchard, Bushiki, Connor, Chahdi,
Well, Özbilen starting to lap some of the other runners. That was one of his compatriots, in fact, 1,500 metres behind. But he hasn't shaken off Mechal. And Mechal has a very, very good kick. And he's still retained that kick. So Turkey leading from Spain as far as the medals are concerned. Yes. Slight problem with the transponders there. Great Britain, Northern Ireland in 3rd place at the moment. So it's Turkey, Spain and Great Britain. They're the 3 teams holding the medals at the moment. But there's still over 1,500 metres of this race to go for most of these runners. A little under 1,500 for these 2 men.
And I think that was a lap runner, wasn't it, in an apparent 4th place, the Albanian. But this is quite a surprise, I think, Özbilen. He hasn't had a significant cross-country result since the 2006 World Cross Country Championships, when he was
competing for his native Kenya.
And he was 5th in the long race and won a team gold medal. So it's quite a big gap between championships across country.
31 years of age now is Kaan Keegan Özbilen. Well, the race is far from over though. Mechal still tracking him. Now, I just wonder if that glance over his shoulder indicates that Mechal's starting to feel a little bit tired. Özbilen, well, great credentials on the road, and has also run a 27:03 10,000 metres on the track back in 2012. But I don't think he's got quite the same turn of speed, but he's really drawing out the sting of Mechal. Well, I make it just over 500 metres to go, just over half a kilometre to go. About a minute or so of running still left. Well, Ben Connor, after such a fine run for the first 2/3 of the race, slipping back very slightly, but still an outstanding run from the Briton.
And are we seeing echoes of what happened in the under-23 race, where Cripper made a big move in the penultimate lap, but couldn't shake off Jim Regrisia, who then out-sprinted him at the finish.
But now look at the face of Özbilen. Effort etched all across it, strain etched across it. So too Mechal. Now Özbilen surging again, putting about 2 metres between him and the Spaniard. Well, it's the first hard turn. They go onto the sandy stretch before the final turn into the home straight. Osbilan now just checking behind, see where his rival is. So there's about 200 meters to go for Khan Keegan Osbilan. And Michel now starting to look very tired. I think he's settling for second place. Bouchard trying to pick up his legs. I think he's got too much to do in this final few hundred meters. The very last turn of this race. It's going to be Khan Keegan Osbilan from Turkey, the fourth successive Turkish champion. He's got the race won. Michel stumbles his way across that final sand trap. But coming through, it's going to be Turkey once again. Khan Keegan Osbilan takes gold for Turkey, wins the senior men's title here in Šamorín at the 2017 Spar European Cross Country Championships. Adel Michel, Spain, bronze 2 years ago, silver on this occasion. And Andrew Bouchard just very nearly pipped on the line by Hassan Chadi. Chadi ran a storming last 200 meters. I think he sensed that Bouchard was just coasting in and almost caught Bouchard. Sofiane Bouchichi in fifth. Ben Connor, great race from the Briton in sixth. Defending champion Aris Kaya, a faller earlier in the race, comes through for seventh. Spain's Daniel Mateo eighth. Former champion Arakan ninth. And Lambda Sam in 10th. So 3 Turks, 3 Spaniards in the top 10. I'm going to wait for confirmation. I think Turkey might just have edged out the Spaniards. Well, great run there from the Irishman. Sean Tobin ran well above himself to get 15th place there. Bit of a shout out for the Irish, for the very good Irishman who got silver in the NCAA championships recently. Ali Kaya, champion 2 years ago, 21st on this occasion. Not the best of runs from the former champion. Won't even make their scoring trio.
I think you're right, Phil. I think I make it on my back of the envelope calculations a 3-point victory for Turkey. First, 7th and 9th to Spain's 2nd, 8th and 10th.
And we'll just wait for confirmation. Great Britain, Northern Ireland were in the bronze medal positions going into the last lap. Wasn't any great significant change, but so I think Britain have probably got the bronze. But we'll give you confirmed results shortly. Those are our, as Mark said, back of the envelope calculations as we see there Khan Keegan Osbilan and the entire Turkish scoring trio of Aris Kaya and Polat Kemboy Arakan. Confirmation of the individual standings there. Khan Keegan Osbilan, the fourth successive different Turkish runner to win in as many years. Henrik Ingebrigtsen, well, we talked a fair bit about him, comes through in 11th place. Khalid Chakoud, the highly regarded Dutch runner, 22nd. Napoleon Solomon drifting a long way back to 23rd. Jesus Hispania in 40th place, former European 5,000 meter champion 11 years ago. Alpert